Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about maybe a possible Sony deal for Spider-Man shows. We'll also be talking about Aladdin trailer. We're also going to be talking about possibly New Mutants. And our big sort of topic of the week is going to be what's going to be happening with Disney now once Disney Plus launches. So first off, James, before we get into any of that, what have you been sort of watching lately?
Not too much that would probably appear on Disney Plus. I actually watched Triple Frontier this past weekend. That's the new Ben Affleck movie that's on Netflix. It's also got totally blanking on his name, but Poe Dameron from the more recent Star Wars movies, and the Pablo who will be in the Mandalorian, probably the main character in the Mandalorian. So not directly Disney Plus, but that was one of the main things I watched, which was better than I was expecting, but still not like super great. And then also I'm getting ready for the start of Game of Thrones here in the near future. Again, not Disney related, but Game of Thrones.
I tried season 1. That was the end of it for me. But for me, I am currently going through, nearly finished up season 1 of the Clone Wars. That's my current Disney. That's what I'm logging on each night with Disney Life and just like trying to watch 2 episodes a night. So I've been primarily focused on that one. Watched a couple of movies and stuff on Netflix, some of the more exclusive stuff. This is the thing, isn't it? You get stuff just drops on there and you go, oh, I'll check it out. I'm not paying any. I'm not kind of essentially, it doesn't matter if it's rubbish, you just turn it off. So, but yeah, the Clone Wars has been the main thing I have been watching. So before we jump into the news, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe and all the different podcast things. So first off with the news. So apparently Sony have got plans for Spider-Man spin-offs and Spider-Man shows and movies for the next 7 to 8 years. Who would have thought they would have been planning ahead after the success of Venom and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The interesting thing they were talking about is with things like streaming, they say they are talking with partners about what they're doing. And they did talk in this interview in Variety about Disney Plus. They're expected to be a global force. Now I'm sitting there going, you're only got rights to make movies, but you want to make TV shows, and you're just talking to streaming networks, and you're going to have to ask permission off of the company to make them. So what company do we think is going to get the permissions to do the streaming right? It's like, yeah, they can't come out straight away and say what it is, but I can't really think Disney and Marvel are going to be, yeah, you go and make a TV show for Spider-Man for Netflix.
Depends how much money's involved, I suppose. But yeah, if there's going to be a Spider-Man show, there's always a Spider-Man show. At least since the 90s. Yeah, it'll be on Disney Plus. I mean, this. I'm still remembering. Not even a few years ago, they had Ultimate Spider-Man. This was on regular TV. Yeah. Ultimate Spider-Man, and they announced the new Spider-Man show, the one that's either currently airing or just ended recently. I haven't been following it. While Ultimate Spider-Man was still airing, and they even advertised it before the final episode of Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm just like, I get that you're excited about the new show, but maybe don't sabotage the current show. Yeah. And there's a certain sense of that happening again here, although it's not quite the same because you're kind of going, well, we've got a Spider-Man show, but we've got this other Spider-Man show that'll be on Disney Plus. It's like, maybe don't oversaturate the market a little bit. Yeah.
But I'm expecting something like Into the Spider-Verse kind of themed animated series. They've already been talking about it, but there is no chance Disney are going to allow them to take it anywhere else because essentially Disney control. This is the thing with Spider-Man, and they keep getting people. Sony only have the rights to the movies. They don't have the rights to the TV shows. That's why we've seen things like Ultimate Spider-Man, and Disney have got the rights to the merchandise. They've got the rights to the video games. They've got the rights to the comic books. The only thing they don't have the rights to was the movies. They did the deal with Sony to cross-promote a bit with having like things like Far From Home and Homecoming. They're technically Sony movies. They get all the money, but the shared Spider-Man, so he can appear in things like Endgame and Avengers. That's where the crossovers come in. And then we've had the other movies. Disney have been a lot more, they were promoting Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They were really getting in on that. They were doing the merchandise. their relationship is a lot more friendlier than it used to be. And even Venom, Disney weren't really distancing themselves from it. They realized there was money to be made from bits and pieces, so they kind of were letting that thing go. But they kind of did jump on with the whole Spider-Verse. They were advertising it on Marvel.com. They weren't like super far apart like it used to be.
Yeah, and obviously this is an example of how two different companies can reach an agreement that's mutually beneficial for both. This is something that we kind of wish Fox had done prior to the whole buyout thing. We've been talking for years. Fox work with Marvel on the X-Men and the Fantastic Four licenses, and of course in the end they're just like, yeah, we're just going to buy Fox. So not for that reason specifically, but it is a nice fringe benefit of the sell. So yeah, I'm very happy to see that Sony and Marvel or Disney have had this great relationship going forward, and it extends beyond Homecoming and Far From Home and into the Spider-Verse and into all these other avenues.
The big thing as well, last year's big hit was Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. PlayStation Store exclusive. You can't help but think that was part of the deal of kind of doing Avengers and stuff of like, yeah, we'll do it. Can we have the exclusive rights to have it for PlayStation and you can't put it on Xbox? Yeah, that was definitely something.
It's the Sony PlayStation with this little unknown title, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so
that was big. So we are expecting it. I'm honestly not expecting it to appear anywhere else other than Disney Plus, because Disney wouldn't allow it, because they have the rights. They have the they worked with Fox on things like Legion and Gifted, but they were benefiting from that. They still had control over those shows and stuff. So yeah, we are expecting some bits and pieces. Keeping on the Marvel news, again, it was spinning around this weekend with interviews or an article up on Variety about the New Mutants. A lot of talk about that being being shifted to Disney Plus, primarily because there's no one really at Fox promoting the movie, and they don't know what they're doing. And there was supposed to be some reshoots to make it a lot more edgier. They didn't take place. This whole thing, there was going to be kind of a lesbian aspect to it. That's been literally, there's a spin the bottle scene, and that is all there is. There is nothing more to it than that. It was not made any more violent. It just seems like that movie, we've talked about it before, but that is one of the big casualties of the Fox one. It's been delayed twice, and a lot of talk now. And to be honest, it's already kind of causing that issue of this movie's not going to be able to jump out of it because everyone's going to be expecting it. It's not a lot of great publicity ahead of this movie about people already not wanting to go see it at the cinema.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, I'm a big New Mutants fan. I read the comics not when they were coming out, but shortly after they did. I'm a little too young to have read the original New Mutants comics, but even so, I was looking forward to this until we saw that first trailer ages ago.
Over 2 years ago now, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, every time this pops up in the news, every time we hear about New Mutants, I'm just like, this sounds terrible. Yeah. All around terrible. And to be fair, I don't blame Fox or Disney for being like, no, we've already shoveled a bunch of money at this. We're not going to shovel any more at it to fix the myriad of problems that's going on. Honestly, if Solo hadn't been a Star Wars movie, they probably would have done basically the same thing, which is just kind of shovel it out there and then throw it on a shelf. And I think that's what we all expect is going to happen with this movie.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, we won't get a real clarification, and it's probably for a while yet. But yeah, this one's a bit of an odd one. Disney have said they're going to be releasing the Fox stuff that was already scheduled. This one I feel like is a bit iffy. Keeping on the Marvel side of things, another rumor kind of report going out this week was apparently Marvel are working on an animated series based on the What If Marvel comics. Now, what these comic books, these have been going around for decades. They are one-shots usually, single comic books, where they tell a story from an entirely different angle, different kind of thing of what if Spider-Man didn't have any powers? What if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic They make no sense sometimes. They are non-canon. They are literally them having a bit of fun. I love this comic book series. It's one of my favorite comic book series I've been reading on and off since I was a kid. I like this like randomized stuff to it. Some of them are bonkers. But in some ways, an animated series of this could work quite well because they're just going to be pickups. They could do a couple of episodes here and there, drop in, drop out. They can use big characters. Also, animated is going to be cheaper for them. They're talking about, there's been talks of, they will use the Marvel Cinematic Universe voices and stuff. Like, they're going to cost too much. They can just bring in if it's animated, they can bring in anybody for this.
Yeah, and I would fully expect them to bring in random people. You're not going to get Chris Evans in there to do Captain America, especially if it ends up being like a what if Secret Wars kind of deal where he's playing a Nazi or something along those lines. My main concern with this project, I love the what if comics too. They're enjoyable. They're thought experiments, writing experiments, I should say. And they're a lot of fun, but the real problem with them in general is that you have to be very careful about them being inclusive in terms of people's ability to view them without information. Because although these are non-canon stories, in order to get the impact of them, you generally do have to understand the canon pretty well. Because a what if story for, let's say, what if Sleepwalker had turned into Moon Knight? And you're kind of like, all right, you just said a whole bunch of words there, and I don't know who Sleepwalker is. I don't know who Moon Knight is. I don't know why I should care if Sleepwalker was Moon Knight. That's one of those things where you kind of like, that's a great what if experiment about a whole bunch of stuff I don't care about. I actually really like Moon Knight, but I wanted to pick something that most people probably hadn't heard of. Whereas, what if Captain America hadn't been frozen in ice and Bucky had been frozen in ice instead, and Captain America just died of old age somewhere along the line, and now Bucky is reawakened a world without Captain America? That at least people can understand, because that's the basic Captain America origin. But they've got to find a sweet spot on that spectrum between the two where they can tell stories that are accessible, but you still want to see.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to use like the MCU or the TV series as like the kind of the standard line, and then they can spin off of that and kind of go, what if what if Ultron had won, or what if Lady Thor, kind of use the MCU as the timeline and kind of jump off of that. That could kind of be a bit more mainstream.
Yeah, and that's going to be their best bet at mainstream, because most people are at least aware of the basics of the Avengers. I shouldn't say most people. I should say most movie-going people are going to be aware of the basic Avengers storyline, Captain America Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, etc. So they can use those as a springboard. And you can have a reasonable assumption that most people will at least get what you're trying to sell, as long as you don't go too obscure. You can't. What if Yondu had been the member of Guardians of the Galaxy instead of Rocket Raccoon? That's a vaguely interesting idea you could have some fun with. But like, what if Nova, but not that Nova, the other Nova who was a Herald of Galactus, was on Guardians? And people would be like, what? Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to see them going down the animated line. It makes it a lot more accessible, a lot more cheaper to make. But also, we've had the Hulu animated ones. It looks like they are looking at Marvel and going, well, we make kids cartoons, maybe we could make something a bit more in the middle somewhere. So interesting to see where this goes. This also could be great as like shorts. I'm not really shorts, but like short series, 6 or 8 episodes, blast it, and then see how they do, and then a little bit cheaper for them to come in and stuff. So again, we don't know too much about that yet, but I'm not expecting like 24 episodes in a full run, just because I think we're going to see a lot more of this shorter episodes. Keeping on the animators front, just a quick note that apparently Disney are heading down to Mexico for the Cumer, I can't quite pronounce that, summit, which is taking place down in Mexico City next month. Disney Plus are there. The animator, or the lead animator for the network, is going to be there looking for talent. kind of interesting to see them down there. They sort of talking about Disney Plus animation being pushed as a major studio down there for, yeah, just great to see the kind of Disney Plus being pushed in that way now. We're starting to see them pushing it more as they're looking for talent, they're looking for things, and you're going to see a lot more of this going on. But that pretty much wraps up the news portion of this week. It's been a bit light with the Fox purchase due this week. Everything's kind of top quieting down. We've got Star Wars Celebration coming up in a few weeks, and then we've got that big Investors Day on the same day as Star Wars Celebration. So expecting a lot of news next month about Disney Plus. So let's jump on to this week's feature topic, and something called the Disney Now app, which is an app that you can get on your devices. You can also, I think you can get it through some of the like Roku boxes and Amazon things as well. Don't have it over here in the UK, so I haven't been able to personally use it, but I've been looking on the website and stuff. But this is something that you have to be subscribed to a television network to get it. You have to be able to log in, and there's been lots of shows on there. You can log in there for free and watch like a few weeks old, like a month old episode. They'll have like a couple of them up. They're only on there for like a week or two before they disappear. And Disney have been actively pushing this for a while of, watch DuckTales on Disney Channel and also on the Disney Now app. And I put this question out on the Facebook group, on the Facebook page, but I wanted to check your thoughts on this first off.
I mean, the Disney Now app is a relic of, I want to say an older age, but honestly, we're still in that age, where content providers such as Disney or CBS or whoever, they've wanted the ability to stream, obviously, because you want people to have access to the shows, but they don't want to lose that revenue stream of subscribers. I shouldn't have said CBS. That's actually a free channel over here. But the basic idea, the content providers, they want to be part of this new wave, but they don't want to give up the television subscriptions. And we're seeing now, of course, a move away from that as consumers move away from that. And yeah, Disney Now is the Disney version of a bajillion other apps that we've seen. And it will probably still have a place in the Disney Plus future, because there will still be people, particularly the older generations, who don't want to give up the TV subscription and then don't want to pay for a Disney Plus subscription on top of that. But they'll still want to have access on their smartphone or their tablet or whatever to see the latest episode of DuckTales or the second most recent episode of DuckTales. So it might kind of limp on as this, grandma's got to put DuckTales on for their grandchild that they're babysitting for the day, and they don't have a Disney Plus subscription. They don't understand how a Disney Plus subscription works, or however you want to think about it. And Disney Now will still give them the ability to show these shows that they're paying for in a different form. But that said, this is going to drop off drastically even before Disney Plus comes out, because as more and more people learn about it, I mean, like, why would I even bother with this Disney Now app when Disney Plus is right over there?
Right. So I'm going to read out. I asked this question on Facebook. So first off, it kind of very, Alea was like, it won't go anywhere. Brittany, she was asking about the difference between Disney Life. Obviously, that's for the UK. Ira was like, he's gone. One is for TV, the other one is for movie. One's not. They're not going anywhere. I don't think they quite. Erika doesn't quite realize what Disney Plus quite is. There was a lovely gift by Sean about basically Spider-Man disappearing from Infinity War, and Joseph kind of going, this guy gets it. I think the general consensus is, and this is my view, this thing is dead. This thing is going to be dead in the water once Disney Plus launches. They will keep it running, and it will keep running right through the launch, and it will be running just after launch. We're going to start seeing stuff not being added to it as quickly. They'll start being a bit slower. The free version will probably disappear. They will start updating it less. You look on the Twitter accounts or anything like that, they've not been really very active promoting it even on social media already. I mean, the last tweet was last year anyway. That's never a good sign when Disney pull the plug on social media side of things. Whenever you watch anything, they kind of go, available now on Disney Channel and Disney Now. they're not going to want that. They're going to want to be able to go, it's on the Disney Channel and on Disney Plus. They're not going to say, they're not going to be promoting 3 things at once. That's too convoluted. They're not going to work that out. And it's like you're saying about people going, oh, I want to watch DuckTales on demand. Well, you'll have to subscribe to Disney Plus. Disney Now was the stopgap to, because it's not, I say Disney Now, there's Fox have got the same version, Freeform, ABC. They've all got these like little apps running that you can stream stuff online for free afterwards. And they might obviously have adverts and the rest of it, and it's a revenue source. Once they've got Hulu and Disney Plus out there, why would they want to promote a free version? I know it's like, and it's not as if Hulu and Disney Plus are super expensive. I can't see any reason why you'd want to give them freebie versions when you can have them subscribe. Yeah, they get the adverts and it's publicity. I just think they're gonna want to close it down eventually. They might not do it straight away because the backlash, but if they start slowing down the taps a little bit, that will make a big impact.
Well, I think there's actually going to be 2 things that happen. They're going to slow down the tap to Disney Now, and maybe not at launch, but at some point, Disney Plus will have a selection of free shows, a try before you buy kind of thing, or, the first hit's free. And what we see now on Disney Now will end up being those free shows on Disney Plus, where you can go, all right, if you subscribe now, you get the entire DuckTales catalog, including the original series from the 90s and the 2017 show. But here are the 5 most recent episodes of the 2017 show if you just kind of want to see what we have to offer.
Yeah, see, I think Disney Plus will be subscribe or not subscribe. Then will be a free month, free 2 weeks, free week. That kind of
course. There will absolutely.
I think they're going to more likely use YouTube, because that's what happens over here on our Disney channels, on our YouTube. They will put up a whole episode, and it'll be like free full episode. I think they will use YouTube as that source of getting, because they want to keep the kids going and give them content. And I think YouTube will become the standard point for this, rather than some weird app that you can't unless you're subscribed to the channel. And people are going, well, we're subscribed to the channel, we should get it. It's like, well, there's going to be no incentive from them really. They're going to want to push this stuff, and the best way is to push to their own customers, saying, oh yeah, you've got it on Disney Channel, but you're going to have to pay for it. Because the thing is, even with Disney Now, that nothing's on there for very long. Things are only on there short term, and they might not get rid of it straight away. But I can't see any reason. There's also, like I said, there's other issue of National Geographic's got its own free streaming app. ABC's got one. Freeform's got one. Disney Channel's got one. FX have got one. They are going to want to start streamlining. They can't, at the minute they've been having these networks and apps because they haven't got the alternative to send you off to. They don't want to send you all off to Hulu because they didn't own it, and they knew what they were producing. I can't help but feel like these apps are eventually all going to be streamlined into one major source, because it wouldn't make any sense for them to have this stuff out there and go, oh, well, subscribe. Well, why? Because you're giving it to me for free. It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree that all of the various apps that will be part of the Disney whatever are going to disappear over time. The ones they get from Fox, the ones that are native, Nat Geo, etc. I would also, just as a kind of food for thought thing, going back to the idea of maybe offering a couple of free episodes in the app itself. I agree that YouTube is going to be a good way for them to get, you just saw this episode, go download the app. But actually getting people to download the app onto their phone is a major portion of the battle. Because at that point you can go, we've got the 3 most recent episodes of DuckTales. They're not exactly day and date. You have to wait a couple extra days or maybe a week before an episode becomes available. They go away very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It's very easy to go from that point to then say, as from the consumer perspective, go, well, you know what? I like being able to access these shows anytime. Here's my $5 or $6 or $7. So if you can already get people using the app, whether they're paying for it or not, getting that next step to paying for it is just that much easier.
Yeah, it's that kind of. I think it's going to be that side thing as well. I mean, it depends also if Disney do deals with the big networks for having their apps on their devices and stuff anyway, because Netflix and stuff do that already, where they have their apps available. You know, you're going to start seeing that. And also the big problem as well, Disney are looking to shut down channels. They've shut down like Disney XD in a number of different countries. Disney Junior have started closing down channels over. They are going to have a streamline of channels because there's too many of them at the minute, and they're not bringing the ratings for what they're doing. So you're going to start seeing that change. But already Disney made the big change a few years ago where they dropped the Disney XD, the Disney Junior, and the Disney Channel, merged them all into Disney Now. They took 3 apps, put them into one. So we've already seen them do that. So yeah, I don't think in the long run they're gonna, and they'll probably even stop promoting it. It'll be like on the Disney Channel. It'll be like available now on Disney Channel and Disney Plus, and they'll just start dropping off the concept of sending people there in the hope that they can turn around in like 6 months time and go, oh, not enough people are using it anymore, so now we're going to get rid of it, and kind of essentially turn it off through basically lack of use.
It's planned obsolescence. The intention is we will provide less, users will use less, therefore we'll provide even less, therefore users will use even less, and then at that point, or maybe another couple cycles, we just go, hey, not enough user interest, gone, and go download Disney Plus.
And there's the other thing as well. There's a lot of talk really of a lot of the animation stuff is going to be exclusive to Disney Plus because they're going to be pushing kids over there with adverts from Disney Channel to kind of get the parents to do it. If they get the pricing right, it'll be a lot easier. But I think, to be honest, the Disney Now app was created because they was trying to fulfill a specific problem they had right there and then of kids not having access to their content, and they need the kids to have access to the content for advertising, but also to keep kids connected to their brand. No point having kids watching everything on demand and there being no kind of way of doing it, because kids watch television differently now. They don't sit there at 8 o'clock and watch the latest episode of Star and the Girl kind of thing. They know they're going to go on their app and watch it. I know it with my nephews. They watch television on their app. They don't sit there and watch it the way that we did as kids. And I think Disney Now was about fitting that goal right there, right then, of having that option available, so they didn't lose a generation of kids.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely why they're doing this. It's not even just the generation of kids. It's people from our generation and even a bit from the older generation who are adapting to the new style. People who are fed up with the traditional TV model. Why am I paying for 900 channels when I only watch 5 of them? My money might be better spent on a handful of streaming services, which I know cover the content that I want. And Disney had to get out in front of it. And so, yeah, it's the combination of many different things.
Yeah. And I think you'll see this on like ABC and stuff in the US, and Freeform, it's available now on demand and on Hulu. You're going to start seeing, them just going, no, it is available here. And you'll see a much stronger pause, because obviously now with Fox getting their 30% going into Hulu, you're going to see, I think, a much more shift of pointing in 2 directions, because it makes no sense having these free versions when they're going to want people to subscribe. Yeah, you can go, well, we get people to watch them, or when we're giving you a service, it's like, yeah, but they want to turning Disney Plus and Hulu into those on-demand networks, that rather than giving you a free version on the website or through an app.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going around in circles at this point. So,
yeah. So on that there, what do you guys think of Disney Now? Do you think it's going to continue? Is it going to limp on, or will they eventually just scrap it? I'd love to know your thoughts. But before we go James did remind me, I did forget an item earlier in the news report, and that was, we had 2 new trailers this week, Aladdin and Avengers Endgame. Now, James was basically going, doesn't want to know what happened in the Avengers Endgame one. I did watch it. It was all just nearly pretty much clips of Avengers Infinity War and stuff that happened before it. There was probably about 10 seconds of new content. So we're not going to kind of go into it, because even Disney seemed to be very much aware that less is more for Endgame.
Yeah, this is the same thing as, say, Star Wars Force Awakens. All you have to put on the screen is Avengers Endgame, and that's all you need. They just need awareness that the title is coming out. They need the date. They need, this is what you're getting, and that's it.
And the other big thing, and this is something that we don't see very often really with movies now, if they want us all going to the cinema that weekend to find out what happened. They don't want to blow it in the trailer. They know they're showing us that the ones that have survived, but they are very much, they know that we're all just want to see what happens, and then we're going to go see it. And they know that they don't want to give us a lot away in the trailers, because they've got such a unique, how many times in a Marvel movie have you got people this clamored to know what happens next? I don't think we've ever seen this.
No, we haven't, and it's not just Marvel movies. This is the culmination of what, 11 years worth now of storytelling. Sure, not all of it's directly connected. Some of them are one-offs that are basically not connected. But yeah, going all the way back to Iron Man 1, this is the payoff for 11 years worth of stories. And there is, I can't think of anything else in cinema that even comes close to that. I mean, you could say something like, well, the James Bond franchise went on for 40. Yeah, but you didn't need to see Moonraker to understand what was, or to have GoldenEye be like the resolution to a plot thread from Moonraker or whatever. Yeah. So
I mean, I think they're doing a great job of keeping it on the low, because we're about a month away, and they know that they are not giving stuff away. You know, the toys are very generic. You know, they are really not being very. They know what they're doing. They know that weekend we're going to go in droves to find out what happens. I know everyone in that cinema when I saw Infinity War, they're going to be straight back, because it was so unique, and this is going to be a unique situation. So shifting gears now, the new Aladdin trailer. This was kind of like the first proper trailer that came out, and you're like, yikes! I'm still not sold on this movie.
I have to agree. I'm not sold on this movie. I did think this trailer did look better than the other trailers did. But I mean, that's like saying that this carnival food looks better than that carnival food. It's still gonna, completely screw with your stomach after you eat it. And it looks better, but man, does it still look bad.
Yeah, it does look like a TV series with a high budget, doesn't it?
Honestly, yeah. If you had told me that this was an episode of Once Upon a Time, the Disney series from ABC Family from the last several years, I would probably believed it. Honestly, the interpretation of Aladdin and Jafar on that show might actually be superior to this right now. Specifically, Jafar. Jafar is. They didn't even have him talk in this trailer, and he is the least intimidating villain that I've seen in a Disney show in a long time. And it's even more impressive because this is a villain who already exists, that we have already seen in multiple forms of media. He's part of Phantasmic, for pity's sake. He is, and it's frustrating because you want it to be good, but at the same time, we're coming up on that same conundrum of like, do you want it to just be a remake of the movie? No, you don't want it to just be a remake of the animated movie. But then how far separated from it can you get before people go, well, why'd you even make this? This is nothing like Aladdin. So
they're definitely kind of playing on the using the music. They were using that very much to try and get onto it. I think we've got Dumbo out in just over a week, and that kind of seems to be they've taken that in a different direction. I probably am going to go see it because the cinemas got cheaper now, but it's that thing of really, I think, Aladdin, I just watched it again. I'm just like, no, I'm still not feeling this. I'm not getting it. It's like, but we'll have to know your thoughts on those ones as well. Go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. James, where can they find you?
You can find me heroiclegacy.com.
And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon. Later.